Pat, I mean, before we get into the top eight, let's just hear your overall thought. I just want your overall thoughts without really giving away any spoilers right away, but just what's your overall thoughts on this tournament? Like, what will this tournament, will we remember this tournament like in a few months?
Absolutely, we will. Absolutely, we will. Uh, it was the bomb.
TPS reports, we're here. You like that little intro, Pat? You like it, huh?
That's fantastic. That's the cut.
That's perfect, dude. TPS reports, we're here. As always, I'm Justin, and that's Pat Dixon on the other side. No Brandon here in the middle. And Pat, I don't know if you realize this. This is the first time just you and I.
Just me and you. Oh,
Just
baby. Oh,
the
you
two
dance.
of
Oh my
us.
God. That was the greatest 12 seconds of this podcast.
I mean,
History of this
that's
podcast.
pretty sad, actually. Yeah. So just the two of us this time. We're missing Brandon. Shout out to Brandon. But yeah, this ought to be fun, man. This ought to be fun. A nice little twosome here. So this would be cool. Dude, we got an awesome tournament to talk about. I feel like we're gonna have a lot to talk about because super exciting stuff happened. Points event number 9, which was a non-ball tournament. As always, 32 players, $500 added. We were at Smoke and Q on November 2nd. Paid out $3,040, so just over $3,000, which is a great pot. Let me go ahead and mention our sponsors here really quick, just to get them off the bat, because I know, Pat, we're ready to talk about this tournament. So the sponsors, as always, Deadstroke Media did a wonderful job with the streaming. Inkwell Design made a fantastic trophy that somebody got to take home. Paul Harrison Custom Cues, always love having him as a sponsor. Portico Licensed General Contractors, Corey, once again, supporting us like always. The Roundabout Grill, love having them as a sponsor now. Furniture Outlet and Consignment, shout out to Rod Matthews. Premier Imports of Charlotte, Ricky Carcamo. He was there. He played. Always appreciate him coming out. And then the new sponsor, Alpha Apparel, Jesse Link. Thank you so much for reaching out and becoming a sponsor. Pat, I mean, before we get into the top eight, let's just hear your overall thought. I just want your overall thoughts without really giving away any spoilers right away, but just what's your overall thoughts on this tournament? Like, what will this tournament, will we remember this tournament like in a few months?
Absolutely, we will. Absolutely, we will. It was the bomb.
Yes. This tournament
I'll
was
leave it at
a
that.
bomb. That's a perfect way to describe this tournament. I love it. On that note, I'm going to go ahead and read out the top 8 players, and we'll kind of dive into it and talk about them, how, talk about certain ones. Maybe they surprised us by being there. Maybe they surprised us where they finished at. But first and foremost, the winner of the tournament, Ronald Bot, the Bot Man, taking home another trophy, pulling out another win. Second place, third straight time in the top 3, Hank Powell. Third place, Eddie the Legend Little. Fourth place, Brian Kurzel, a new player in the money. Always love to see that. Fifth and sixth, Jason Blackwell. And the surprise of the tournament, the bomb, Craig Teetelbaum. We'll get to him in a second. Hold your horses. Seventh, eighth, Clay Davis and Javier Oliu back in the money where they always seem to be. Pat, go ahead. I know we're just going to talk about Craig for like 20 minutes here, so let's just go ahead and get it started.
I do want to shout out Rudolph first. I want to shout out Rudolph for a great tournament. He went undefeated all night.
Mm-hmm.
6 months ago in this field, he would have probably gotten like third or fourth place, I feel like. And we still would have been having that same conversation about him getting over the hump. He won his first one way back when. He's now winning multiple tournaments. He seems to always find his way to the finals or something very, very close. But if he's not in the finals, it's because the field may be a little bit more top end heavy. You know what I mean? With like your Mike Davises or BJs might be in the tournament or something like that. But he's finishing where he's supposed to now, which is exciting to see. So shout out Renault.
I'll say before we
Yeah.
go to topic number 2 there, I think this might have been the first tournament that we have had where Ronald was favored to win. I think on paper before this started, I think Ronald was the number one player.
Yes, I would agree. I would
Yeah.
agree.
So,
I think you can make arguments on who could win the tournament if something
oh yeah.
happened, but as far as like the clear cut favorite, it was definitely Ronaldo in this one. And you're right. I think this might be one of maybe not even one of maybe two. This is probably the one time it's ever happened in the pool series history.
Yeah, because every other time you've had Mike Davis or BJ Ustery, one of those guys, that are just maybe a tad bit better than Ronald, or,
Mm.
maybe they're on the same level as Ronald. And then even before that, we weren't sure if Ronald could get past like an Eddie Little or a Clay Davis or somebody like that. But now without BJ and Mike being there, I really felt like this was Ronald's trophy to take home from the start of the day.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how he responds the next time that they're all in that same Shark Tank in these situations. How is he going to play under even greater pressure? You know, but yeah, shout out Renault.
Yeah.
Now for the real reason why we both showed up today. Okay.
Yes.
The only reason why we showed up at 10 o'clock Thursday night, November, 14, is
Yeah.
for the fifth, sixth finisher and the surprise of 2024. I'm going to say it. He's a surprise of the year. Craig the Bomb Teetelbaum. Oh my goodness. Shouts out to Craig, who got all the way to fifth, sixth from the loser side of the bracket, the B side, and had a heck of a route all the way
Oh yeah.
through. And Justin, we were talking about this the other day. It's not like he was doing anything crazy. He
Oh
wasn't
no.
making ridiculously difficult shots. He wasn't banking. He was playing good defense and he was making balls. That's what he was doing, especially when somebody would make a mistake.
Yeah, he was playing the right shot almost every time I looked over. But yeah, I mean he's improved. You take Craig, let's just go from this year alone. Let's don't include last year, but just from the very start. I'm pretty sure he played in that very first event of the year at Irish Q. So from there all the way to November here, the dude has improved. He's improved a lot, but also just seeing, mentally, I don't know, is the strongest part because I feel like, even if these guys made these mistakes against him in January or February, I don't think he capitalizes like he does now. Like he seemed relaxed, he seemed calm, he seemed calm, cool, and collective. That's what he was. And,
Yeah.
he ended up having a super scintillating, sensational tournament. There we go. I'm just very, throwing out big words here. But yeah, Craig, I mean, it was awesome. He definitely pulled off some upsets. I mean, he beat Sean Brodowski first round. Then he loses to Kyle Sherrill second round, which looking back on it, that might have been kind of an upset. So shout out to Kyle. Then Craig beats you. He starts a run here of literally every match here. He's the underdog. He's the underdog against you. He's the underdog against Jamie Sales. He's the underdog against Jacob Blake. Underdog against Javier Oliu. Then finally he runs into Hank Powell. And honestly, he should have beat Hank.
Took him to the hill.
Yeah.
Justin, they went to a third set. And Hank was probably that might have been at a time where Hank may have been playing his worst or second worst match of the tournament, if
Yeah.
not right before. I think it was actually right before Craig. Hank was like, "Man, I barely survived this last one." And knowing what was going on with Craig progressing through the field, Hank even said, "Like, I better find it here.
Yeah.
I better find it now." And he almost got kicked out. He almost lost to Craig Taliban. If Craig would have beat Hank, I don't know. I don't know how much crazier I would feel right now if that were the case.
I mean, we've never had a 32 player field where I feel like we've had a huge underdog in the top four. And
Right.
if Craig would have got, like, we've had some underdogs reach fifth, sixth, and maybe Craig was the biggest underdog to reach fifth, sixth, but we've had a few reach fifth, sixth. But man, if he beats Hank Powell, then we're probably doing an emergency podcast after the tournament just to talk about, we're probably just saying, hey, Craig, jump on here with us. I mean, it was
Yes.
unbelievable. I was like, this is the end of the run. Hank's going to beat him 2-0. It's going to go,
Yeah.
super quick. And man, Craig just kept coming with the shots. And honestly, the shot that he made to beat Javier, I know it was 2-0, but do you remember the 9 ball that he made to beat Javier?
Hmm.
like Javier missed the non-ball and Craig makes it like almost full table, like kind of cut it off center.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes, bro. He beats Javier 2-0. He
yeah,
beats Jacob Blake 2-0.
yeah,
Those two wins are huge
yeah.
with the way that both of those guys can normally play, but especially with how they've been playing lately.
I don't know. How did it go? Um, so he wins the last set against you for sure. Were you up 1-0 on him?
It was a 1-0. He won 2 sets in a
So
row.
this dude literally wins 2, 4, 6, 8 sets in a row.
He was on fire. And I remember talking to him and I was like, bro, what is going on? He said, I don't know, I'm just relaxed. Like
Yeah.
he looked like he could really give a frog's fat ass about what was going on. He was just so in the zone and so relaxed and chill and just doing what he had to do. If he missed a shot, he wasn't like beating himself up over it. He was cool. Like, okay, yeah, that sucks, but all right, whatever. And when he got his opportunities, man, up until he met a juggernaut in Hank, who probably survived that, right?
Oh yeah.
Craig probably still should have won that, but man, dude was playing he was playing out of his mind.
I
Out of
mean,
his mind.
to win 8 sets in a row, especially against some of those players that he beat. I mean, those guys, none of those guys are pushovers. Like literally
Yeah.
all those guys that we mentioned that he beat, I could see finishing in the money. To win 8 sets in a row is unbelievable, man. I don't think I have yet to win 8 sets in a row in any of our tournaments. I don't think, looking at Ronald in this tournament, he didn't have any point in time where he won 8 in a row. He did win his first 2 rounds 2-0, 2-0. So, he won 4 in a row. But, I mean, he never had, nobody else in this tournament had any kind of run like Craig had. And I've never really root for a certain person to win the tournament. I never really root for a certain person to, get to a certain point. But I was at the time that once Craig beat Javier, I was 1000% hoping that the bomb was going to pull off the tournament. And I had no problems hiding it. Like I wanted him to win more than I've ever wanted anybody else to win one of our tournaments. The only other time I really wanted somebody to win was the first time we saw Liz Taylor last year.
Oh
When
yeah.
she got third place at Blue Rocks.
Yep. Yep. I felt the same way. I remember that. But you're exactly right. If Craig would have done the impossible and won this tournament, we would have did the podcast that night.
Oh yeah,
Like that night or the next day, baby, we gotta cancel everything.
yeah.
Take the kids to swim class because we got stuff to talk about. But is he signed up? I think he is signed up for 8 ball
Yes.
in
Yeah,
Blue Rocks,
he signed
right?
up signed up that night after the tournament. Yeah.
I can't wait to see how he responds. Like what like now what? Okay, you had a big showing.
Yeah.
You said also to me, he said something that was around the words of like, I feel great. After he lost to Hing, it was like, this was a great tournament, had so much fun. But he's like, I needed this because it proved to me that I can play with y'all.
Yeah,
And so
because
now he's got some confidence built up. You know what I mean? And understandably so.
because if you go back and look at his history in the pool series, he never really won more than like one round. I think he had one where he won two
Right.
rounds, but most of them were just one round or two and out. And I've always thought he could do better than that. Like I've never thought that, like it never would have surprised me if Craig finished like one out of the money. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? But I never thought that he had this in him at this point in time.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that this is
No.
not in my wildest dreams.
And I want to
But yeah, congratulations to him, bro.
Yeah. Let's turn our attention a little bit to the fourth place finisher, Brian Kurzel. Only the third time he's played all year. Just a smoking cue player. I don't think I've ever seen him play anywhere else other than, for APA purposes. But shout out to him for getting fourth place, man. He played really good. He had a good tournament as well, beating Rico Gonzalez, Jesse Draper, Jacob Blake, and Jason Blackwell. I mean, his only losses were to Renal Bott and Hank Powell, the two guys that played in the finals. So, I mean, great tournament for Brian.
Oh, super impressive, especially considering that his first 3 wins are no slouches at all.
Yeah.
All three of those guys can definitely play, especially Rico and Jacob specifically. He took both of those guys to the hill and won.
Yeah.
Um, but then also really notably beating Jason Blackwell because he's the underdog there.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then he just came off a loss against Runal 2-0. I don't remember how that match went, but like I don't know if like 2-0 was really the tail of the tape right there. Like did Runal really steamroll him? But even still, coming off a loss, your tournament life is on the line. If you get matched up with Jason Blackwell, a much stronger player, and you 2-0 him, I mean, he's got to be happy with that tournament. And I hope he comes back to another one. Is he Pine Villa?
He is not signed up for our next one. I've tried to convince him because he'll have a great chance to sneak into the top 32 in the points, but he's pretty steadfast, man, on just kind of playing at smoking Q. I think, I don't think he's gonna really get out. But what's crazy is if Craig beats Hank and we get Brian and Craig to get to third place, that would have been pretty wild. That would have been
I would
pretty
have
wild.
taken, and you know what? I would have taken Craig.
At
No,
that point, me too.
nothing
Yeah,
against Brian. At that point, I'm taking
yeah,
Craig in every match.
absolutely, 100%. Shout out though also to Brian because this tournament put him over a 600 Fargo. So
What was he before?
I think like a 599 or something.
Oh, he cracked in there. Nice.
Yeah, yeah. So he just sneaking up there, but yeah, man. I mean, great tournament. I mean, all 8 players that cashed, I mean, had some kind of story to tell. Whether it's Craig overcoming the odds and almost doing the unthinkable, whether it's Brian Crizel kind of showing that maybe he's one of the better players at Smoking Q, Renal showing that he can win, again. Hank Powell, just being, dude. Hank Powell is 3 straight top 3 finishes. I mean, how are we not even talking about this guy?
He's Mr. Consistent.
Yeah.
He's Mr. Consistent. We used to give that tagline to another player a long time ago, because they were constantly finishing top 3, top 2, back to back,
Yeah.
streaks and everything like that. But Eddie Little, man, or not, you're not Eddie Little, but Hank Powell, yeah, dude, it's coming, and it's coming sooner than we think that he's going to win himself a full series event. And I don't care if Mike Davis is in it. I don't care if BJ's in it. Hank is going to be there somewhere in the end. A
Yeah.
couple rolls here and there, a couple of better stretches of play from himself, not really hitting a wall. Man, he might win. I don't know who signed up for 8 Ball.
He's in
Okay,
there. He's in there. Yeah.
I saw him on the Facebook post. I saw Hunter White on the Facebook post
Yeah.
too, saying that they're both going to be there. I
Yep.
wouldn't be surprised if he takes it. I
Yeah.
wouldn't
I
be
mean,
surprised if he takes it. I think
at
he's a
this
better
point,
8 Ball player than he is 9. He's strong in both.
yeah, at this point in time, I wouldn't be surprised if Hank wins any of our tournaments. I do feel like this was the worst that he played out of these last 3 tournaments, though. Like, I know he finished in second place, but out of all the matches I saw him play all day, I never really thought that he was playing fantastic.
Like it didn't feel the same as Fast Action. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Fast Action was like, whoa, that's Hank Powell right there. Like he's playing
Exactly.
very, very well. And how crazy is
Exactly.
that to be playing at, potentially some of your worst pool and you still get in second place?
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty wild, man, and it was definitely a fun tournament. It was definitely fun to see how these players got there. And like I said, man, big shout out to Brian and Craig for getting in the money. Hopefully that becomes a regular thing, and also just shows you the pool series. Anything can happen.
Bomb might go off, baby. You never know.
Exactly, the bomb. I love that nickname, the bomb. Craig Teetelbaum, great nickname.
Earned it.
That's up there. That's up there with the Bot Man, Ronald Bot, and Moscone, Mike Davis. Like those are up
Absolutely.
there. Yeah,
Absolutely. That might be our Mount Rushmore of nicknames, like the founding fathers of the pool series players' nicknames. The
yeah.
bomb completes it.
That's what the pool series does, man. We create nicknames and we create Facebook profile pictures with our awesome photography that we've had recently.
Home of the best.
Yes, home of
Chris
the
Clark.
best, baby. Best tagline in pool right there. Man, let's mention a couple of people outside the money. I feel like we've talked about the money players all. I don't think there's anything else we can. Is there anything else we need to say about the top 8? I think that's about it.
Um, what Javier in the money yet again?
Yes, again.
In the money yet again. This is becoming a new standard for him that
Oh yeah,
I don't expect him to deviate from. If he's not in the money anymore, it's a disappointment. Now he's proven that he's supposed to be there.
agreed. He's definitely supposed to be there. I'm gonna name 3 players now that played in this tournament that I feel like should have been there. We should have been talking about these 3 players already. We did kind of mention one of them, but sadly it was in a losing battle. But 3 people that I thought should have been in the money. I'm kind of surprised they're not. Jacob Blake finished 9th place. 6 times now this year he's finished ninth place. Shout out to him. We're going to rename 9th through 12th. We're going to rename it the Jacob Blake spot. Chris Brower also finishing ninth. I kind of thought maybe he would break through and get the money. I don't think he's made the money yet in the pool series event. And Lisa Cassette, I thought could be there, but sadly she kind of left early, wasn't feeling well, just wasn't all there due to maybe some health problems. So hopefully she's feeling better. But it was sad to see her leave. I thought maybe she would break through. She hasn't played in too many pool series events, but I thought this would be the one she would break out of. Pat, I mean, do you kind of agree with those three? Do you got anybody else you want to talk about that didn't make the money?
I mean, I don't disagree with those. If I had to pick somebody that I'd say like one person that should be in there outside of the ones that you said, I would probably say Rico
Yeah.
in this field. I feel like this is definitely a field where he could have made some noise and made it into the money. Was the last time that he made it into the money, was that Irish Q?
Yeah. Yeah.
That was our last one there. Was that I think that was 8 ball on the 9 foots that we were doing?
No, I think he made the non-ball on the non-foots. Yeah.
It was not okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. But yeah, outside of those ones, but definitely the most notable, I think, is Jacob. He's like in that weird space that Ronald was, but just at a different level of that weird space where he's trying to figure out what is it that it's going to take for him to get over that hump and actually get into the money. I think it's going to be one of those things that once he finally does, we're going to see his name more consistently up there after he like breaks through that wall and gets that monkey off his back.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. I think Jacob just needs to find a way to get over that hump and get in there because skill wise, I think he's up there with some of the people that we talked about in the money. And yeah, you're right about Rico, man. I think Rico's had a weird year. I mean, he's had some great finishes and some not great finishes, and it's like he's kind of hard to predict because he'll put off some upsets and maybe he'll lose some matches that we thought he was going to win, but with the tour finale coming up, I really feel like Rico could be one to watch in that tournament. Maybe he snaps out of his slump and finds a way to jump back up there.
Yeah, I agree with that. He's one of those ones, man. When he's on, he's on. I mean, he lost to Brian Cazell on the hill. He
Yeah.
beats Woody. He's supposed to win that one, and then he loses to Chris Wrigley in 2 sets. So definitely, maybe he just had a bad day. You know, it happens. But to your point, Rico's one of the ones, man. He could snap it off at any moment.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I honestly feel like our next tournament at Blue Rocks 8 ball event, I think Rico might have a chance in that tournament, honestly. I mean, I feel like he plays good at that place, and I feel like he plays pretty decent 8 ball too. So maybe keep an eye out for Rico in that tournament. Uh Pat, you ready to talk about your tournament a little bit though? Out of the two of us that are here, you're the only one
Oh
that's
God,
played.
did I?
Well, I mean, technically, yes.
Technically, yeah, technically.
All right, so
Um,
Pat, 17th place finish. You lose 2-0 to Renal. You
yeah.
beat Sydney Ford 2-0. We have not talked about her, by the way. Shout out to Sydney. I think one of the two women that played. So shout out to her. Always glad to see her. That's the second time she's played in our tournament. She's yet to win a match, but she's definitely, I feel like, showing that she belongs in our field. And, I think she puts up
Mhm.
a big fight. I'll let you talk about your match in a second. But, and then your third match, you lose 2-1 to Craig. You were one of the few people that got a set off of Craig. So congratulations to that. I mean, man, honestly, I think, you losing to Renal, you definitely can't be mad about that. You beat Sydney
No,
like you're
no.
supposed to. And then, I mean, Craig, that was just one of those where it's like you just got in the way of like, you just got in the
Freight
way of
train.
like freight train. I mean, and it sucks because I feel like on a normal day, maybe you win that match. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Let's get your thoughts, man. Tell us about those matches.
Yeah, I felt good against Runal. I think the first set it was it might have been 3-0, but I had opportunities and chances. Early on, definitely couldn't really find my stroke, my groove early on in that match, and he was taking advantage. But then the second set, I think we went 2-2. I think I got 2 racks out of that set, so I
Nice.
almost was able to get it to a third. Um, Sydney's a fantastic pool player, by the way. Even though it was 2-0, she did get a couple of racks in each of those sets. She was playing some good defense and really did a good job of stretching it
Well,
out.
the only
But
other time that we saw Sydney this year, she lost Hill third set to Jeff Pate. So
I did not know that. That's nuts.
yeah,
That's nuts. But like I think the biggest thing that I picked up on with Sydney is that she has a good understanding of the game. She knows what it is that she wants to do,
yeah.
right? Pattern play, strategy, even when she's trying to play defense. It's just she's working on the execution, you know, the execution of it all. But she's gonna be I think if she sticks with it and keeps on what she's doing, she's gonna be one of the best women players that we have in the area. She has that kind of potential, I think.
I agree with that too. And shout out to her dad, Gene, who also played in the tournament. They played each other first round, by the way. Sucks that happened. But shout out to Gene. He runs the BCA up there at Smoke and Q. So shout out to
Oh,
Gene.
nice. Yeah, shout out to Gene, man, nice guy.
Yeah.
But then yeah, and then when I got to Craig, um, I don't want to take anything away from Craig at all because dude was just everything that he needed to be. But I wasn't feeling well physically. Like I got some vertigo. Like I had to take a second to take a break because I was getting dizzy. But then I like ordered some food, got some water, was feeling a little bit better, but like it was always in my mind. And then looking across and seeing Craig as cool as he was, I was like, shit, I gotta do this. I gotta pull this together. Um, but more than anything, honestly, with that one, I felt like I absolutely just gave it away. I was up a set on him. I think we got to the second set. I think I might have had like one or two racks. I might have been on the hill. I think in that second, he came back and took it to a third. And then I think he beat me like 3-1
Oh
on
wow.
the hill in set number three. But that was probably the most frustrated I've ever been after a tournament because I was more so mad at myself because I really felt like I was missing just about anything and everything. Position was poor. I was in my own head. Like I had everything going against me. And Craig was playing well. But it's like you said, you know, hindsight 2020 after the fact. Now I don't remember any of that. Well, the thing that I say that I remember most is just how crazy and how excited I was for Craig watching him tear through the field,
Oh yeah.
you know.
That's
But
why that's
no,
why
I'm
there's
excited.
no
I'm excited about the next tournament though.
nice. Yeah, that's why there's no reason to get like too upset because you never know what's gonna happen. Like, like you look at it like, yeah, you're probably supposed to beat Craig, but like that day, that time, that tournament was just, the bomb Craig Teetelbaum in his time. Like that was, there's nothing you can do about it. So, as the day
Right.
progresses, it's like, okay, I see what's happening here. So there's no reason to get upset about it because, it's like you don't know the bigger picture. Like the pool gods had a bigger picture that day. And, it's going to be the same way. There'll be a day where, you're going to break through and, get third or fourth. And somebody's going to be like, man, I should have beat Pat. Like I'm supposed to beat him. And they're not going to realize that, what, like this was Pat's, this was his time, this was his tournament. So sometimes you just got to go with the punches, man. I mean, it sucks. It hurts, but, it's like at the end of the day, it was Craig and his time.
100%. Oh my God, 100%. And then I actually started reading this book. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Inner Game of Tennis. Um, heard of that? Have you read it before?
Yeah. No.
No?
I mean, I've heard
Great
of it.
book.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, great book. If you just switch out tennis with pool, it's such an enlightening book talking about the inner self and just like you said, like not being too high, not being too low, just being in the moment. And like whatever the results are, but just being able to have that objective view of the game and the performance and things like that. So nah man, great tournament. I am I'm happy with it all, but just because of what I learned from the tournament. And then again, your boy Craig going through it. So I'm excited for 8 ball, man. Can't wait. Get
Yeah.
over there to Blue Rocks.
I mean, the last episode of the TPS reports, which you can find on YouTube, I did predict that this 8 ball tournament coming up, you'll cash. So there we go. I'm still holding my prediction.
My man.
I'm still holding it. Let's move on to some of these streaming matches, man. We had an awesome setup, awesome stream, a lot of viewers. Thank you so much for watching. You can go back. Some of them are up on YouTube already. Some of them will be up soon. But we had 11 matches on the stream for this tournament. I'll go ahead and read through them really quick, and then we can kind of discuss what our thoughts were on them. First round, we had Clay Davis winning 2-1 against Jason Blackwell. Second round, Hank Powell 2-0 over Jamie Sells. Third round, we had two matches. Brian Curzel 2-1 over Jacob Blake, and Eddie Little 2-1 over Clay Davis. Final four winner side, we had both matches. Renal Bott 2-0 over Brian Curzel. Eddie Little 2-0 over Hank Powell. Seventh, eighth place match, Craig Teetelbaum 2-0 over Javier Oliu. Hot seat match, Renal Bott 2-1 over Eddie Little. Fourth place match, Hank Powell 2-0 over Brian Curzel. Semifinals, Hank Powell 2-0 over Eddie Little. And the finals, Renal Bott 2-1 over Hank Powell. Pat, I'll let you start off the discussion so I can catch my breath after reading all those. But what match sticks out to you? Which match shall we talk about first?
I think the match definitely for me is going to be Javier and Craig. I'm so glad that we actually got that on stream. That's going to be another one that I go back and watch yet again tonight. But the biggest thing that I can say is that everybody got a chance to see just how unbothered Craig was about it all. He was just living in the moment, taking things for what they were, and playing great pool. He shot well, man. He shot well all day. But in that one there, I think that I wanted him to keep on winning, but I still favored Javier heavily to beat Craig, honestly, 2-0. I thought that was going to be the end of the road for Craig at that point. But again, as cool and calm and collected as he was when Javier was making mistakes, you could see the slumps, you could see the expression, you could see things coming out. And I don't think the better player won that day. I think it was the player that kept his cool throughout that tournament. He's the one that won that match.
Yeah, and that was a fantastic match to watch, actually. And I know it's not two of the bigger names that I mentioned on the stream, and it wasn't a hill thriller, but that was actually probably maybe almost the best match or the most exciting match. It definitely was the most fun to watch because you're watching an underdog break through. But it's crazy to me because as I'm going through these matches, as I was preparing for the show, I'm looking and I'm like, man, there's no way Craig was only on the stream table one time because I'm gonna be honest with you. He beats you, right? He beats you. So I go, okay,
Right.
what's going on with Craig? He then turns around and beats Jamie Sells. And I'm like, okay, what is actually going on with Craig? After that point, I'm pretty sure I watched as much as I could of him against Jacob Blake. He was on the stream against Javier, so obviously, I'm right there front row. And then I watched almost every shot they had against Hank Powell. I feel like I watched Craig more than I watched our actual tournament. So to me, it's crazy that he was only on the stream table one time when it's like, dude, I remember seeing this guy play for like hours.
You were giving updates in the chat about his score as if he was on the stream. That's how crazy it was. But yeah, it was one of those things, man. It was so nuts how he was playing all day and just the path that he had to take to get there. You know what I mean? Like he's playing against players who easily could be in his position, finishing fifth, sixth place, if not higher. The Jacob Blakes, the Javier's that he beat. So the fact that the people got to see just a glimpse of what it was playing against them all day, I was so excited about it. And then it was just one of those things, man. Like I would say maybe 5 or 10% of his shots were like, oh my God, what a shot. You know what I mean? Like the 9-ball that he made full table.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To win that match was nuts. I think that thing got me out of my chair. I think there's a clip of me like saying, yo, Javier, or Craig, when you go back and watch this, just know I'm standing up for you right now, dog. But 90% of his game was him just making shots, taking what the table gives him, not forcing anything, playing the right shot. If it was time to play defense, if it was time to kick, if it was time to jump, if it was time to go for this ball, time to try to move the cue ball a little bit more, he was making the right decision, whether it worked out for him or not. But his consistency, man, he stayed with that, especially when it didn't work out. He just went right back to playing the correct shot again. So, to me, Javier and Craig is probably the best match that I think I saw on stream all day.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a reason why we're going to title this episode the Craig Teetelbaum show because I mean, where we talked about him pretty much nonstop when we were talking about the money players. His match is going to be the first one that we talk about here once we're to the matches. I mean, it's what we're going to remember from this tournament. I mean, even months from now,
Yes.
yeah, I mean, even come February of next year when 2025 starts for the tour, you know, the first thing we're probably going to mention is, hey, remember back in November when Craig finished fifth, sixth, like that's, and we're going to compare. This is what we're going to compare everybody, every underdog that makes a run in our tournament now. We
Yes.
have a reference point to. This is like, this is like when, when Butler made the Final Four in basketball. This is
That's a
okay
good one.
now. Yeah, now we can all reference him. It's like when Boise State did good in college football. It's like we got reference points now. So yeah, that match also, like I said, was entertaining. I mean, I feel like they
Yeah.
both made good shots. They
No, I
both
agree. They both
played
made
well.
good shots. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like the first set went to the hill.
Yeah.
First set, Craig took it 3-2. And I'm trying to fast forward and see how close the second set was, but right now it looks like it was 3-1.
I was gonna say, I think it was
You
3-1. Yeah.
Yeah, 3-1. So not only was it close in the beginning, which is what you want to have, but at the end, the underdog just takes it.
Yeah.
It makes a fantastic shot to do it. It's like the story could not have been better written for Craig that day, man.
Absolutely. And a match that I kind of want to mention is two of the guys I thought were two of the top guys in the tournament, and obviously they both cashed. Was the very first match of the day, Clay Davis and Jason Blackwell.
Mm,
You look at it and you're thinking, okay, these two guys, this may be in the world, it could be a preview of the finals. This could be, two guys that are, in it for the long haul. And it's funny when you see great players such as them play each other in the first round because, I talk all the time about you kind of as a great player, as a top tier player like them, you kind of want like a warm up match, so to speak. You want like
right,
like an easier opponent in the first round where you can probably win, you can kind of turn it on and off. But for them to come out and play each other, it's like, okay, let's see what happens. And neither one of these guys were in stroke at the start, but you saw them warm up as the match went on. And, it ends up going to a third set. And it was just, it was suspenseful because you're like, okay, who's going to win? One of these guys has to start on the loser side, which is crazy. So there's suspense to it. But you saw both of them, the first couple of racks where it's like, ooh, easy miss. Ooh, kind of an easy miss. Ooh,
hmm,
bad position play, And then at the end of the match, you're like, oh, okay, now break and run, great shot. So it was entertaining for me because not only was it a close match, but it was nice to see like the evolution of a player getting stroke and when it's two great players getting in stroke.
right, right. So would you say that you feel that Clay got in stroke first within that first set, and it took Jason a little bit longer, or?
Man, actually, I feel like Jason actually got in stroke first. I think Clay
Hmm,
just, I think maybe just the rolls kind of went Clay's way. Maybe he kind of, the balls laid his way. I think Jason made a mistake or two in the last set, but Jason, I felt like in the middle of the second set, kind of got in stroke, first. But then Clay, got in stroke in the third set. So it kind of just kind
hmm,
of went back and forth. And, Clay won the first set, but it was more so like which one of these guys is just going to get lucky enough to win the first set. And then second set was
right,
Jason's and third sets was Clay. So yeah, it was just, I think it was just kind of, I don't know if either player really won that match. And I don't know if either player really lost that match, but it sucked because it was first round because you'd love to see that match later on, like in the final four.
right. And that's good insight too, because if you just look at the box score, it's 3-0 Clay, 3-0 Jason, 3-0
Mm-hmm.
Clay. So it's like, well, my goodness, what happened in those? So that first one, Clay and Jason, what Clay's really struggling through
Yeah.
is doing what he has to do to get those racks. Jason catches fire in the second set, or finally finds his stroke. He ends up winning 3-0. And then later on, sounds like Clay found his. So Pretty interesting, man. No, I think you're right. We definitely are spoiled here at the pool series now because first round you could be looking at a hot seat match, a
Oh yeah.
finals match. Um, but no, that's really interesting. What else? What else did you see with that one?
Yeah, just like I said, that first set it was 3-0 Clay, and really Jason made two mistakes. Clay would make a mistake, and then Jason would make a mistake late in the rack, and Clay would end up with the rack. And in the second set, Jason just didn't miss a ball, and then third set, Jason made like one or two mistakes, but yeah, just a great match, man. I mean, two guys that are regulars in the top eight, so yeah, just a fun match, man. Let's move on to another match that I want to mention really quick because there was one more, and it's not even really a match per se. It's more of a set of matches because it was two. But in the Final Four winners side, you had Eddie Little and Hank Powell play, and Eddie wins 2-0. Then they play again in the the semifinals, and Hank wins 2-0. It's just crazy when you have uh, two players of their level play, and the score neither time is close.
Right, right,
Like
right. You would think like with as good as they are, and as equally good as they are, that the scores like it would go like every set would go hill.
yeah, yeah. You're thinking at least out of those two sets, one of them, out of those two matches, one would go to a third set. You would think, and it
Right,
wasn't.
right. And the fact that it doesn't is like, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and it wasn't like I'm trying to remember. Like they both played well. Like I don't really think either one of them played bad. Did they? Like neither one of them played bad in those matches.
No, neither one of them played bad. It's just that when they missed the shot that they shouldn't miss, it let the other one like out.
Oh
Like
yeah.
there weren't too many rolls that either player was getting. You know what I mean? Um, but they both like they weren't playing bad, but they still weren't in their high gear. They found it in certain spurts, especially Eddie in the match that he won. Even in the one that he lost against Hank too, he was still playing pretty well in spurts. But for each of those guys to beat the other, they have to be in that higher gear more consistently throughout that
Mm-hmm.
match to really take it. You know what I mean? Like to really dominate and take it. Like the box score is going to say one thing, but the eye test is going to give you the real. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's always fun to watch players like those two guys play each other because you can learn so much and they're entertaining to watch with the way that they play as well. They're both heavy offensive players,
Oh yeah.
but they shoot defensively so well that when they finally do, it's just as good as a pot. You know what I mean? Um, but yeah, I think that's one that I would go back and watch again just to really hone in and try to figure out how each of those matches wound up the way that they did. You know what I mean? Like what
Yeah.
happened? Because to your point, your brain says that the score should be a lot closer than what it was.
Yeah, and you talk about the players being in stroke. I don't think anybody in this tournament was in stroke really at all. Like maybe at
Craig
times.
was.
Yeah, Craig. Yeah, Craig was. But I mean, you look at like the top players, the top three or four players on paper going into the tournament. I don't think any of them were really in stroke. Even the winner, Ronald Bot, you know, even the bot man, I feel like really honestly was not playing, his tip top game. He did have the break. His break was
Oh, best
by
break all
far the
day.
best.
100%. He
And
was making like 3, 4 balls. It was
yeah.
crazy.
And we haven't even really talked about Ronald yet, but it was good to see him kind of, you know, um, get over the hump a little bit because the last two times we had seen him, he had kind of like fallen a little short towards the end. Like we saw him at Brass Tap and he kind of fell short a little bit. By beating himself. I mean, Josh Padron played a great match to beat him, but Ronald had a chance and made some mistakes. And then we saw him in the 10 ball tournament at Smoking Q. And did he play? He played Hank Powell as well. And, he kind of made his own mistakes. Hank, again, played great, but Ronald had a chance to win and made mistakes. So to see him kind of, not make these mistakes this time when he played Hank. And I do want to mention really quick in the finals, Ronald does three foul Hank, but it didn't count because he did not tell Hank that he was on two. And we clearly stay in the rules. You got to tell your opponent when you're on two. Pat, I just want to get your thoughts on that.
I think that's fair. That's the
Yeah.
rule, and that's the whole point of the 3 foul rule is to not make so that there's no conversation that happens.
Yeah.
Justin fouls, and I come up and I tell him, "Hey, that's the wrap because that's your third foul." Well, how do I, if I'm in the zone, if I'm focusing on the match, how am I supposed to know? I can't just take your word for
Hmm.
it, especially if my mind is elsewhere. So, um, Runal comes up to Hank and says, "Hank, that's three fouls." Hank immediately says, "Well, you got to tell me when it's two." Hank knew it was
Oh
three
yeah.
fouls, but
Oh yeah.
that's not the rule. The rule is you got to tell your opponent when he's on his second foul, right? And he didn't, and so Ronaldo said, "You know what? You're right. Respect it. Moving on. That's how it should be. I'm perfectly fine with it." If it would have been the antithesis of that, right? If there would have been an argument over it, which Ronaldo wouldn't have done that, but let's say a different player in that same situation and they want to start arguing, we're going to side with Hank in that one because Hank is 100% correct. But two respectable guys, they had the conversation. Ronaldo said, "You know what? You're right. Cool." And he went on and shot a shot. So I'm perfectly fine with the rule. That's what it's there for.
Yes, exactly. I mean, two stand-up guys. This is why I love when both of them play in our tournaments because there was zero argument about it. They both handle it like professionals. They both know. They both know the rule. Ronaldo knew the rule. He even said, "Hey, I didn't. Hey, that was a third foul. I didn't tell you you're on two though." And Hank said, "Yeah, exactly. You didn't tell me, so it's not a three foul." Uh, but I bring that up also because that literally happened earlier in the tournament as well. We have gone all year without having this problem, and now twice in one tournament, somebody gets three fouled and they didn't know they were on two. That is crazy to me.
That's the bomb effect, man.
Yeah.
Something was in the air. Something was in the air. People three fouling multiple times, not telling nobody. Craig Tottenbaum's making it to the money. It was topsy turvy up in there, man. That's why we love it.
Yeah. And I mean, it was the weekend after Halloween. So maybe the freaks were coming out at night.
Oh, they came out and they were in stroke.
They
Won eight
were
racks in a row.
8 sets in a row. Yeah.
8 sets.
Insane. Is there any other matches that you want to talk about, or have we pretty much covered all the big ones?
I think we've covered all the big ones, man. It was an overall great tournament. Again, this is another one of those streams that we had where you can't just pick up anywhere and find a boring match. They're all pretty good.
I
Some a
agree.
lot better than the others.
I agree. They were definitely all good. I mean, you can also go back and watch Eddie Little and Clay Davis, two big names. Ronald Bott and Eddie Little, two big names. There's definitely some big matchups out there that we haven't even talked about that you can go watch. So let's move on now. Let's move to the future, or to the future that way, whichever way this camera goes. I don't know. Yeah, I'm bad with that. You can edit that and make it look cool. Blue Rocks, last points event of the year, 8 ball. Are we excited? Do you have any wild predictions? Are you kind of sad that our points that were done?
No, I'm sad. And I'll tell you why. Because the championship is right after that, 2 weeks
Yes.
away. So it's just like the end of one thing is the beginning of another. And
Yes.
2025 is going to be so huge. Okay. I cannot wait. So I'm kind of excited. I think this has been our best year yet. It's only going to get better. I think this last points event that we're doing is going to be off the hook down there at Blue Rocks, and we're going to finish out the year strong with the championship. And then we get into 2025, and I can't wait. So I'm just excited about everything.
Oh, I'm excited too, dude. Then the tour finale will be fantastic. Only for the top 32 players. Man, it's gonna be fun. We still got a few people vying to get into the top 32 that are gonna be showing up for our next tournament. So I'm kind of excited to see who all actually does make it. And I'm kind of
Mm,
excited to see, who drops out. The top three spots, obviously, in the points make a little bit of extra cash. Mike Davis, Ronald Bott are kind of battling out for first and second. They'll both be at our final tournament, so it'll be interesting to see who pulls out that W. Ronald kind of needs a really good finish, and for Mike to have kind of a bad finish. Are you looking at the standings right now?
I'm looking at it right now.
What's the point difference between them two at the very top?
80 points.
That's a lot.
80-point difference. Because first place gets what? 200 or
Yep,
100?
200.
It's 200 points, right? And
Yep,
then second place gets 100.
yep.
Yeah, so 2-1. Runal would have to win the finals.
Yeah.
and Mike be second in order for him to take the lead. So he really just has to finish in front of Mike
Yeah.
if he wants to get first place. That's the key. Well, no, because
He
he's got to
has to
make up
win.
an 80-point
He has
difference.
to
He's got to win.
Yeah.
He's got to win.
Yeah.
That's crazy. What if Renault
Yep.
wins this? Oh, that
And
would be
then
nuts, dog.
I think then Clay is pretty much locked into third place because I think the only person that can catch him is Eddie Little, who's not going to be playing.
Yeah, so Clay has 3 on lock, and then right below him is Hunter White, who is 200 points away from Clay, or
Yeah,
230. So there's no way.
exactly.
But then after that, man, honestly, after Clay, it's open.
Yeah. I mean,
It's
yeah, but
pretty open for like the rest of like the top 10.
they're all pretty much locked in to the top 32, though. So they'll all be there for the final event.
Yeah, it should be a good one too. But no, I'm excited to see around that 26 through 32. That's the range that I'm looking at to see
Yeah,
what's going to
read
happen.
off some of those names. Read off some of those names in that area.
So starting off at tied for 24th, Barry McDonald and Liam Wynn, tied for 24th at 130 points. Tied for 26 at 120 points is Dan Mooney and now Brian Cazell.
Yeah.
Tied for 28th at 110 points, Ricky Carcamo, Chris Bauer, uh, Jeff Pate. And then the last 3, William Woody is at 31 at 100 points. He's coming to
He's
Palmdale?
coming. Yeah. He's coming. Yeah.
Okay, nice. So he might have a chance to kind of make sure he makes the qualifying. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Shout out to him,
Because
man.
that last
Shout out to
qualifying
him if
lap.
he makes it to the finals because he's played in every event, every points event this year, and he's literally won 2 matches. So if you
And he's
show up,
playing
it
for
works.
money. Just show up.
Yeah.
And then you got Nate Frank and Alan Profit in the last spot for tied at 90 points. So if somebody shows up and just shows out, they got a chance, especially if you've already played in an event or 2 this year.
Exactly. But my eyes are going to be on Renal and Mike to see what
Yeah.
happens there. Renal has to win the tournament to get first. Anything less than that, he really needs Mike to go 2 and out pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean once Mike wins a round, then Renal literally has to win the tournament, and that's his only hope.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is not to say that it's impossible. We've seen crazier things happen, but he just has a task in front of him if he really wants to grab first place.
Yeah, I mean, out of all the points events this year that Mike's played in, the worst he's done is 3rd. So
Yeah. Yeah. So shout out to Mike Davis for finishing first. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah.
We'll
It's
see
not
what
over,
happens,
man.
man. Anything can happen. It's a pool series.
Exactly. It is the pool series, and this is the TPS reports. Pat, I think that's really about all, man. I think have we covered everything? Got anything else you need to mention?
Nah, man. Shout out to the sponsors. Yet again, can't wait to get back to Blue Rocks, man. This 8-ball tournament is going to be something special. I can feel it. I don't know what's going to happen, but something special is going to happen at this tournament, and you're going to want to be there. Okay. And then yeah, December 7th, 2 weeks away, championship. Can't wait, man. Can't wait to see you again.
I can't wait, man. It's gonna be a lot of fun. This is gonna be a fun month. Man, the pool series is pretty awesome. I'm not gonna lie. This has been a lot of fun. This has been a great year. Can't wait to see how it finishes. And just to quote a song really quick because you made me think of it. Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. There we go. I wanted to make sure I got it right. Yeah. Yeah, you
What
know
song is that?
the semisonic song.
It's a Masonic song.
Closing time. You know that song. Yeah.
Closing
Yeah.
time. Something, something, something. You know, the only reason I know that song is because of The Office. All right.
Yeah. Is that where they work at a paper factory? I don't know, dude. I'm out.
It's called Dunder Mifflin, and yes, it's a paper products company.
Is that Pam? Pam's in that show?
Pam's in that show, Jim, Dwight.
Jim. Yeah, Jim. Yeah, I don't know, dude. Yeah. I'm out.
Let's wrap this up.
Yeah.
Let's wrap this up.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't get I got the song, but I don't yeah. So TPS reports, man, that's been it. Y'all look us up on YouTube. Look up the pool series on YouTube. Look us up on Facebook as well. We're here. Yeah, get some t-shirts. You know, maybe we'll get one for the bomb, Craig Teetle because this episode has been dedicated to you and your awesomeness, dude. So, Pat, famous last words.
It ain't easy being cheesy.
There we go. And on that note, we'll check you later.